Hi everyone, this is pleiadianstarhealer and welcome to Pick a Pile, the shadow aspects. Okay, so I'm going to draw 3 separate piles and I'm going to give you a moment to choose the one or ones that call to you the most. Now, after you pick the pile, you can always go to the description box where you can go back and forth between the piles, so I'll have like the timestamps for each pile. Okay, so I'm doing the one from the book. This deck is called the Mystical Healing Deck. It's an amazing shadow deck, very worth the buy. So I'm going to read the questions because I don't know them by heart. So the first cards will be about what area do you need to focus the most on? What are you denying? And what will help you move forward? Okay. So I'm gonna do 3 piles first. Okay, and then you guys can choose. And then we see what the answers are. So this one is for pile 1. So we have 1, 2, 3. Right. This one is for pile 2. The third pile. This is for the third pile. And we have 1, 2, and 3. Okay. I'm gonna line it up so you guys can see. Okay, so this is the first pile here. This one here. I can't see it. Okay, right here. Right? And then 3. Okay, so take a moment and choose the one that calls you the most. We have 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, so we're going to start with pile number 1. So I'll put this up here in the front. So the first question is, what area do you need the most focus on? So if you chose pile number 1, we have awaken your vulnerability. So this is about being more vulnerable, being more open, basically not cutting off your own foot, or I feel like this has to do with like disconnection, the inability to be open and to receive and to be transparent, I think for fear of harm. Because if you look, we have this weird gentleman here cutting off this, angel, disconnecting her from her body. So it definitely feels like there's like a dissociation, where there's like this not wanting to feel, not wanting to be vulnerable, not wanting to be open. Okay, so then you definitely need to work on being more receptive. Like, what can you do? That's what needs the most focus on. So then what are you denying? So what shadow aspects you see about opening, unlocking the heart? So definitely, like, the heart chakra is closed. There definitely needs to be work on opening, and if you see, she's holding the key and she's like bounded, the key to freedom, opening up. And I feel like she's sitting on the Trojan horse. For some reason, when I looked at it, I feel like the Trojan horse. So I feel like definitely there was like issues with betrayal, because the Trojan horse was like supposed to be a gift, and then it was like all hell broke loose. So definitely there is issues with betrayal and just accepting something that you think it was good, and it turned out to be awful. But that kind of pain that denying of opening your heart was being vulnerable, as we saw, like that's the main focus. Is was blocking off you receiving, potential good relationship, good connections, just abundance in your life. Okay. So now it says, what would help me move forward? So like basically, it says like, what do you need to understand, or what do you need to embrace? And we have stepping into the unknown. So that's about, being unafraid and really getting to know the parts of you and unlocking these difficult feelings that keep us locked up. Because, again, we're having about unlocking, and then again with the key, freeing yourself and just stepping into the unknown or the uncertainty, to basically give yourself the opportunity to live again, to love again, to connect again, and to not be so focused on not feeling and not, because that's not your natural self. You are human. We're here for the human experience, and part of the human experience is the gift of feeling, even if at times it fucking sucks. Okay, even if at times it fucking sucks, but it's a beautiful gift because we can feel, and we were gifted with the privilege of consciousness, and there's so many different emotions that we're capable of feeling, and it's a shame to not feel them, so basically this is like telling you to step into it, even if it scares you, even if you've been hurt before. Step into it with discernment, because based on what you've learned, based on what you experienced, you know better now. You know what to look for. You know the red flags. So it shouldn't stop you from stepping into living the best life that you can, okay, and opening yourself, because there could be connections that you're missing out on because of your past experiences, and you're really holding these experiences and you're locking them inside your heart. What all that experience should do for you is just to be able to tell you right from wrong, what you should look out for, you know what I'm saying? But not to stop you. Do not use your experiences to stop you, but just as an awareness of what to look out for. Okay, so that if you chose pound number 1, that is your message and your shadow work that you need to work on. Now, for pound number 2, we have, again, what area do you need to focus on? Okay, temper your criticism. So that is judgment towards yourself, judgment towards others. Because remember, when you're judging others, in reality, you're judging yourself. You're judging the lack. You're coming down more on yourself. Okay, so definitely take a look at how you spread around your judgment. All right. But we're going to go into it more depending on the second card. So it says, what are you denying? And examine your integrity. So this is about, I feel, about sticking to your convictions against judgment. So perhaps, you may be, okay, I heard like black sheep, but you may feel like you're out of the circle, or people don't really understand your views, or you may face judgment and criticism. But I do feel like those shadow aspects, like what I said before, when you judge, you're judging yourself. So when people judge you, they're judging themselves. And this is like, you need to be more firm in what you believe. Like shouldn't be easy to maneuver and manipulate. And because if you see, she's like, she has the angel as a puppet. You can't allow people to just change your mind so quickly. I'm not saying don't be flexible, because you have to, because if you want to grow and be wise, then you have to be open and be willing to learn new things. You know what I'm saying? So, but I feel like for this certain situations, like when something that you feel like is really in alignment with yourself, with your being, you have to stick to them. You have to honor that parts of yourself against judgment, and also stop judging yourself and honor the things that you want to do and the dreams and aspirations that you have. Like honor them and be careful how you judge yourself and how you talk to yourself. So we're going to see how this all comes together for the third card. And it says, what will help me move forward? So what do you need to understand? What do you need to embrace? Etc. And we have, okay, minimize guilt. So not feeling guilty on creating that boundary and going against adversary and judgment, because when people judge us and they say things, we sort of like feel guilty to stand up for ourselves and to say like, this is what I believe in, that's it, because then we'll go like, what if they get mad, or what if we lose them, like in relationships or family, what if they kick me out, throw me out, or we are in a position where we are faced with that, I feel like we have to choose between our convictions, and we feel guilty for standing up for ourselves because we don't want to lose people. But we're here is telling you like, no, you need to stick to your guns, especially if things are in the most alignment with yourself. You have to stick to it, and don't feel guilty for creating boundaries, for establishing boundaries, even against all harsh judgment, okay? And not feeling guilty about what you believe in, because even if in the future, for example, like you do come to see that perhaps you were wrong, it's okay to change. That's the whole point of the human experience, to change, to evolve. So perhaps you believe in something today, and then tomorrow you find that you were wrong, or you evolve your form of thinking, and that's okay too. So don't feel guilty about that. It's okay to feel and think what is most in alignment with you, that resonates with you, and not feel guilty about standing to it, because at the end of the day, whatever people do is their decision. So if you standing up for your integrity, they decide to not talk to you anymore, you didn't tell them, don't talk to me no more. They chose that, and you can't control what people do. You can only control what you do, and everyone has a choice. So they can either say, you know what, we don't agree, but it's okay, whatever, you do what you want to do, but if they decide to go like, oh, I'm not going to talk to you anymore, abandon you, then let them do what they want to do. But you need to stick with what you believe in, because if you do what everybody says and follows what everybody says, then where does that leave you? Where is your identity? Do you understand what I'm saying? So, no, you need to honor yourself, because you need to be you, your authentic you. All right? So that is the second pile. So let's go with the third pile. So again, the question is, what area do you need to focus on? And we have access clear thinking. So I feel like this is about, as it says, thinking clearly, unraveling confusion, and really trying to see situations and just even stuff within yourself on a more clear basis. Well, let's get the second card first. So it says, what are you denying? Explore your ancestry. So I feel like this has to do with parental ties. I feel like it definitely has to do with programming. So they definitely want you to look at parental programming, generational trauma, things like that, all the things that were installed in us from when we were children, to really get clear on why you do what you do. Why do you behave in a certain way? Why do you think in a certain way? So you definitely need to go to the beginning to understand yourself now. So this is talking about basically going into the past and analyzing and undoing. And they both have ribbons. Well, she has yarn and she has a ribbon. So so yarn is loose. So it's basically unraveling, all that programming and just all the old hurts and why you're acting the way you act or why you think. The stuff that you think about yourself, about others, just it's basically going really on a deep psychological level of why you're you. So you definitely have to go into the past. So this, I feel like, definitely calls for inner child work and just ancestral work and the lineage and stuff. Okay. Then we have what will help you move forward, like what needs to be understood and embraced. And we have stop breaking agreements. So I do feel like this has to do with like contracts, about like just like the lineage, because you said like, I'm sorry, so we were saying like the lineage and clear thinking. And I do feel like stop breaking agreements, it's like there are certain goals you have for yourself, and in order to get to those goals and to honor these things, we also need to understand what's stopping us from doing those things. Like what behavior patterns are preventing us from honoring ourselves. So for example, like if from your ancestral, like parental, right, your parents always made you feel like, I don't know, like you weren't good enough, or you can't do something, like you weren't smart enough, for example, right? And so you want to do something, you want to have a better life, but you break that agreement with yourself. So you have to ask yourself, why do I keep doing that? And that's where the work comes in, and you understand, like you have to really figure out the basis, like where did it start, where did it come from, so that you can honor yourself, so you can really fulfill like your life's contrast. Because when I saw this card, even as I stopped breaking agreements, I saw contracts, like our karmic contracts that we create. And they say that we choose our parents, and we choose the situations that we live in this life in our lives, because that's how we learn the most in-depth lessons. So I feel like definitely this is like fulfilling those kind of contracts, and through those contracts is also understanding the beginning. Because like a story, if you open a book and you just read the middle and the end, you're gonna be like, okay, but what happened in the beginning? Like what stimulated the middle and the end? Like what caused it, to what started it, like what was the ball? You know what I'm saying? So I definitely feel like to understand your karmic agreements and your contracts, you definitely need to go back into the past with your parents and grandparents, or whoever was like parental authority. Because even if you're adoptive, perhaps looking into adoptee rejection, when you feel rejected by your biological parents, things like that. So it doesn't matter whether you have parents or not, like mother and dad, or grandparents, or adoptive parents, you definitely need to go back to the beginning to understand why you do what you do now, and how you can go about fulfilling and learning like these karmic agreements and contracts that you have made for yourself before you enter this life. Okay, so that is for those who choose pile number 3. I also was going to recommend that for those who are looking for like inner child healing and things like that, boundaries, like there are licensed psychologists and psychiatrists on YouTube that they give like insight about what does like inner child healing should look like, and what you should do, how to create boundaries and things like that. So I would recommend you guys look into that, because they could perhaps give you like the point in the right direction, of like how you can go about it, and give you much more of an understanding of where your current feelings really do come from, and like perhaps what you can do about it. So yeah, so that was pile number 3. Okay, so that is the end of the pick a pile. I hope it resonated with the piles that you picked, and thank you for watching. I will see you guys for the Starcast. Bye bye.